All right. So we have seen that there are seven primitive data types in JavaScript. They are number, string, boolean, undefined, null, big int, and symbol. Okay. So yesterday again we slightly saw a slight introduction of number, and then we'll carry forward from there on. Okay. So number data type is again a primitive data type, which means obviously the number data type will be immutable. Okay, they are immutable data types, and that's the reason you cannot modify or change the value of the data type. Again, the numbers are represented. What they can represent integers, they can also represent a decimal number or a floating point number. Okay, so like for example 123 can be represented, or 12.25, 18.13, all these decimal place numbers can also be represented. And again, extra small and extra large numbers are best way represented in the form of exponential notation or a scientific notation that we saw how e in like 123 e2, what it means is 123 into 10 to the power 2. Okay, that is what we saw. Again, that is your exponential notation. And numbers can also represent infinity, minus infinity, and also NaN. So we need to see what is this NaN in the first place. Okay, again, NaN is what, and what is it represents in actual sense. We'll going to little bit understand more about that part. Okay, NaN is an acronym or a which stands for not a number. It is very specific to JavaScript. So, what is it? It is a reserved word indicating that it is a number, but it is legally not a number. Again, this is a little bit confusion here, but with an example, we'll see what does this represents and how do we get this number. Like for example, if I go ahead and check on, okay, this is your web console. Okay, now 12 plus 12. Now, this is a simple addition operation. A number plus a number will give you a number, which is an integer. Integer in plus integer will give you integer. Integer plus 12.12. Again, this will give you a floating point number. And this is again a number. But how do we arrive at, again we also saw that 1 divided by 0 would give you plus infinity, minus 1 divided by 0. These kind of operations will give us plus infinity or minus infinity depending on what the value that we are doing using and what operations that we are acting upon. At the same time, the question might arise like, how do we get a NaN? In what cases that NaN is a possible result? So, operations that return a NaN value, which is not a number. What are those? One specific thing is called as failed number conversion. Again, in order to understand what is this failed number and your conversion, so one thing that is happening is a number conversion, but this number conversion is getting failed instead of passed. And when the number conversion is getting failed, we are getting a NaN value. Now, in order to understand that, let's concentrate on some example. Okay, let's say in JavaScript, right, there is a built-in object called math. Okay, math is a built-in object in the JavaScript. So if I put math dot, right, you will get all those functions or methods or properties that are part of the math. Like one good example is math dot pi, which will represent what, which will pi value of pi 3.142. Okay, this is a part of a JavaScript built-in object called math. Again, there is also a math dot, let's say, e let's for example math dot, you can say abs, and then you are going to talk about like what else is there, abs, that is absolute value. Now let's say uh 3 or for that matter 12. Again, this will give you me an absolute value. Again, if it is minus, it will also give me the same absolute value. Okay. Again, there are many functions or the methods that are part of the math. As you can see, if I put math dot, then you will be able to see all these things. ABS, you have cos theta, sin theta, and all that functions you can do. And you have E is called Euler's constant, right? 2.71. Again, this is a very famous Euler's constant. You will be able to see that also as a part of math function. Again, there are a lot of things in this, and you will be able to use this method, this object. I'm just using this object in order to show how we arrive at a NaN value, just to show you. That's the only purpose here. But again, you can go back to web console and try to explore all those methods and inbuilt methods and properties that are part of the math object. Again, let's concentrate on failed number conversion. Okay. Now, as you know, whenever we have a variable which does not get initialized, it obviously will have a value like let's say uh, number 9. That's number 9. And if I go ahead and say number 9, the value that is currently stored in number 9 is undefined. And math.abs, and then I say if the value is num9. So what is it trying to do? I am trying to pass a parameter of number 9, which is actually undefined. It is as if like doing undefined. This is what I did. So what is happening here? You are trying to get a absolute value of a undefined number. That is when you are getting a failed conversion here. That is when it will result in not a number. And at the same time, ABS, let's say I'm going to pass a string. Okay. Now, if you have a string that is passed, obviously it will give the conversion of that, and that is absolutely working fine. Now, if I go ahead and give 0, what is happening? I'm trying to divide this with 0 and getting that as a string to read it. Again, that is a failed conversion. All right. So that is when you will get a failed, whenever there is a failed number conversion, that is when you are going to get a NaN. Okay, that is one way. Then what are other ways? Another is a math operation where the result is not a real number. So now let's concentrate here. What happens again? Let me control L to clear the screen. So I'm clearing it. MANTH dot. Let's say there is a function, built-in method as a part of math object called square root, okay, which is sqrt. Okay, this is the number. Like for example, square root of 4 will give me 2. That is absolutely fine. Now square root of 9 will give me 3. Okay, that is also true. Now what happens if I give a square root of, let's say, -1? Now square root of -1, again, this is not a valid conversion that I am doing. All right, then this will result in a value called NaN. Again, this is because of math operation where the result is not a real number. That is when it will result in a NaN value. Again, the next one is indeterminate form. Like indeterminate form is when, let's say, what is indeterminate form? Let's say there is 1 divided by 0 will give me infinity. All right, now infinity, like for example, let's say 1 divided by 0, it will obviously give me infinity, and this infinity I am trying to multiply this with 0. Now what is this? Is also what? This is because indeterminate form, you are not able to get it because this itself is infinity and you are multiplying this with 0. This will result in a NaN value. Okay, this is again still a number because that is what we saw, type of. And if I give NaN, this is still a number data type. Okay. Now, this is again what? Indeterminate form will also generate a NaN, which is not a number. Then again, there are other things, that methods or expressions whose operand is coerced to a NaN. Okay, this is also one example. Like for example, you are taking a NaN value and trying to give certain value. Like for example, let's say NaN multiplied by 1. Okay, so anything that you do with a NaN gets a NaN value. Like NaN plus 123, this is also a NaN value. Or let's say 12 exponentiation and then NaN, this was also will give a NaN value. Means whenever you try to associate a NaN value with some other number, this will also result in a NaN value. Okay, and then what else? Invalid value is used to represent as a number. Like there are some invalid values and you are trying to give a representation as a number. Like one very good example is a date method. Again, date we have not seen this yet, but later I can give you. There is also a method called at character. Let's take that. Let's say this is an empty string dot. Again, this will also have a built-in method, which is a string method called ch character at character code at, maybe. Okay, character code at the position 1. So what I'm trying to do, the string itself is empty and I'm trying to find something at this position, and that will also result in a NaN value. All right. Now, what is this method? Again, I'll come to that when we discuss about string methods, what it is and other parts. But for now, just understand that invalid value is used to represent it as a number, that is also will result in a NaN value. Okay. Now, let's get into a new data type called strings. Okay. Now, string is also one of the top 7 primitive data types. All right. Now, what is this string? String is a collection of alphanumeric characters. So it contains numbers, it contains letters, it contains small letters, capital letters, special symbols, all that becomes a part of a string. All right. And this string, like for example, can be represented in 3 different ways. Okay, one is called single quotes. You can represent a string. Let's take that example. Let's say how do you declare a number data type? One way is let number is equal to 1 to 3. This is one way. Or you can say const pi is equal to 3.142. This is also another way. Or you can say var, let's say price is equal to 24. All right, these are all different ways that I can declare a number variable. Here the number is an integer, here is the floating point number, and here is again an integer. These are different ways that I can declare a number data type. But there is also a way that we need to see how we can declare a string data type. And for that, what we need to do is using a single quote. That is one of the options. So how do you do that? Let's say let ACADEM academy is equal to skills and okay. So what is this I'm doing? This is a keyword and this is a variable name. This is an assignment operator. And then within the single quotes, I am writing a string. And here I can give a space, that is also is counted. Okay, I can do that. Space is also a part of the string. All right. Now here I'm going to do this, and this will generate what is known as a string. Okay. Now, what else? You can also use double quotes. Like for example, let's say this is one way. Let's say that total is equal to workzan. So now what is this I'm doing? Total is again a variable. I'm using a let keyword to declare a variable. And this variable is of the data type what? string because I'm using a double quote to define it. Now, whenever I click that, and if I want to go to the portal and say this is also a string. Now, for example, how do I check whether it is a string data type or not? By using a type of inbuilt method in JavaScript and give the variable name. Maybe I can say academy, and that will return me a string. And what about the portal? This is also a string data type. All right. And there is another way, which is very interesting way, backticks. Backtick is a character that is available right on the tab key on your keyboard. Okay. There is a tab key. On top of that, there is a key called backtick, and that backtick and tilde symbol both are appearing there. That is what the backtick is. You can also use something called as backtick. How do you do that? By using, let's say, let's use let or where, but anything is fine. Let's say uh, name is equal to backtick Rohit. Okay, again close with the backtick. This is also very fine. This you can use it. Now if I go ahead and say name will also return me Rohit. And again, the type of name is again a string data type. So just to summarize that, the collection of alphanumeric characters, which is nothing but a string, can be declared or represented using a single quote, double quotes, or a backticks. So always remember that whenever you open, like for example, what I'm trying to say is let L name, which is last name, is equal to, whenever I open with the double quotes, it should always end with the double quote. Okay, it cannot end with a single quote. This is not acceptable. Okay, so if you open with a single quote, always end with a single quote. If you open with a double quote, end with a double quote. So that is what you need to remember here. All right. Then important part here to understand is strings are indexed. Again, what is indexed? And when do we say that strings are indexed? Because string can be represented in a sequence format. Like for example, let's say we have something called as academy. That is what we saw. Academy is a variable that we declared that is storing the value of skills in. Let's say, because this is a string and strings are always indexed, which means s can be represented by index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all these can be represented with an index. Now how do I retrieve that? I can retrieve and say academy within the open and close square brackets. I can give the index. If I give the index 0, the value will be s, because always indexing starts at the leftmost position and starts with the 0 value. And then it will increment by 1 always. Like for example, if I say 1, it will retrieve the k. If I say 2, then it will retrieve the 0, 1, 2, which is I, and so on so forth. If it is 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, which is this L. And if I go 4, again it will retrieve L, because it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is how we are saying that strings are indexed. So now let's go ahead further to understand an important aspect here. Again, because the strings are primitive data types, they are immutable, which means you cannot change or modify the value of the data type. Now in this case, let's say academy is what? Academy is storing the value called skills amp. If you remember, there is also a concept of arrays in JavaScript, but arrays, okay, arrays are what in JavaScript? I'm going just a little bit for you to give this example, just a comparison between strings and arrays, because arrays in JavaScript are mutable, okay, whereas string arrays in JavaScript. String in JavaScript are mutable. Okay, now in order to substantiate that, let's take an array, let's say arr, and I'm giving the value of, let's say, 11, 12, 3, 11, 22, and 33, 44. Okay, this is the value currently. And sorry, let me not give that. Array 1, let's say array 1. So what it is, an array is storing the elements 11, 22, 33, 44. Again, mind you guys, this is just to give you an analogy. Later in depth we are going to go in detail about arrays later in our discussion, but for now I'm just trying to make a point about mutable and immutable. Okay, now if I want to change a value or one of the element of an array, I can do that because arrays are mutable. You can make a change. How do I do that? Array 1, and I am going to say, let's say, at the 0th position, what is that value? It is 11. Now I am going to modify that to let's say 11 to, let's say, 12. Okay, simple. So what I have done, I have taken the index position, which is 0. Array at the index position 0 currently holds 11. I am assigning a new value to that position, which is 12. And if I go back and recall this array, now the new array is holding the value of 12 instead of 11. The rest of the value remains same because I have not modified them, which means you are trying to make a change to the values of an array, which is possible. Okay, because arrays in JavaScript are mutable. But the same thing, even strings in JavaScript are also indexed like the way array is indexed. So let's go ahead with the same thing. There is something called as academy. Inside the academy, I am at the 0th position. There is something called as S. Okay, instead of S, let me say, I'm going to say, let's say, P, or SK, let's say K, or JL, something. So now what I'm trying to do, at the 0th index, which is currently S, I'm changing this S value to L. Okay, now if I hit enter, what it is saying, no, sorry, because that is a string, right? I need to put that in quotes. So now if it hit enter, which is okay, but the moment I recall that, what happens? The string doesn't change. Okay, the S is still there intact, even though this assignment of L has happened at the 0th index. It is still S. So because strings in JavaScript are immutable. So let's go further and try to see what else we can learn in terms of string properties. So as you know, that strings consist of alpha numeric characters along with special characters that can be represented using strings. Now, string, each value or a character, individual letter in a string are called as characters. Like for example, let me clear this. So in academy, like S is a character, K is a character, I is a character, L, Z, A, M, all these are individual characters. Okay, so contains an individual letters or symbols, and they are called as characters. All right, but we also seen that strings are again immutable. All right, but strings have a length. So what does this mean? We are saying that a string has a particular length, which means there is something associated with finding the length. So academy dot length will give me 8, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is the length of the variable, which is of a string data type. Now, What is this length? Again, this is a property of a string, inbuilt JavaScript property that is available for string variables. And what are those and how many different kinds of properties and methods are available? Again, we'll go deep into that when we discuss about string methods. But for now, understand that strings have a length. Okay. And then characters in a string appear in a sequence. All right. Because as a string is indexed, and because it is indexed, every character has assigned a certain position, certain sequence. Like S is at 0th index, K is at 1, I is at 2, L is at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So they follow a particular sequence in which these characters are arranged in a string. Now, so what else we can talk about in strings is there is something, let's say, mm, let's say this. There is also something that we declared about portal, right? Portal. Portal is about skills app. All right. Now, let's see something important here. Let's say I'm going to create another value. Let's say let quote or sentence. Let's say lion is the the king of the forest. What is this? I'm creating a simple sentence which is saying lion is the king of the forest. Okay, and king I have put down in quotes just to emphasize it. That's it, nothing special. I can write it as in a capital letters, which is also fine. So now the moment I hit enter, this will throw an error. So what is this error? This is saying unexpected identifier called king. So now what is this unexpected identifier? Why is there a syntax? This is happening because of certain way that string recognizes this statement as illegal. And why is this illegal? We'll come to that now. There is something called as escape characters. Now understand, just understand a small note here. The string is defined in the double quotes, but the king is also containing the double quotes, which means the sentence is a variable which is storing the string. It is unable to identify this string because what it says, double quote starts here, double quote ends here. So this sentence will say this is the string that is assigned to the sentence. But then there is something called as king here, which is why this is throwing an error. And then there is another string starting here and ending here. All right, that is the confusion that the browser is not able to understand. Now we need to solve these kind of illegal representations in JavaScript. And how do we do that? For this, there is something called as escape characters in place that we need to understand. And what is this escape characters? So to insert characters that are illegal in a string, use a escape character. So this is our workaround. This is our solution for the problem that we just saw. So this, in order to insert the characters that are illegal in a string, we need to use these escape characters. And what are these escape characters? Escape character is nothing but a backslash symbol. Escape character is a backslash symbol followed by the character itself. Okay, like for example, if you want to represent a single quote, use a backslash single quote. Okay, and if you want to represent a double quotes, like in our example just now, use backslash double quote. And then if there is a backtick, if you want to represent backslash a backtick, or if you want to represent a backslash itself, you need to use double backslash. All right. And then if you want to represent a new line, then you need to use backslash n. And again, there are a lot of things we can, again, there is a backspace, there is a tab, there is a carriage return, all those are there. You can refer to the JavaScript notes in our skills and notes section, and that will give you more insights there. All right. For now, let's take this representation and see what solution that we can give it here. Now, instead of this, I can just put a backslash here so that this is taken care, and I can just put a backslash here, then this double quote is taken care. And if I hit enter, so there is no error. Now, the same thing, if I go ahead and see, now if you can see here, lion is the king of the forest and king is written in double quotes. Okay, so our double quotes are respected because of the escape character. Are you able to understand this, guys?
Yes, sir.
Template literals, and these are very important, guys. Template literals are very important here, because these template literals are solving a major problem in whenever we are working with strings, because they can help us to write multiple lines of strings. They can also help us to write string interpolation. We'll come to that, what is string interpolation and everything. But for now, let's concentrate on here. What is this template literals? Template literals are delimited by backtick characters. Okay, so this is just a syntax. This we are talking about the syntax here, but they are also known as template literals. Can also be thought of as template strings. They can also be thought of as string templates or backtick syntax. Okay, all these means the same, which is a template literals. Now, template literals allows for multiple things. Now, let's go ahead and see what is this multi-line strings and what is a string interpolation. Let's go and concentrate here. Now, imagine, let's say I'm going to write a simple let pi, or let's say uh, pi value is equal to 3.142. All right, this is a pi value. Now, at the same time, I want to have something called as a string, which says let um, description is equal to, what I wanted to show here is the value of pi is, I want to say pi value. Okay, so what I wanted to represent here is the value of pi is this variable. I want to, whatever the variable is holding the value, which is 3.142, that has to be displayed here. But with this, what will happen, the description will just say value of pi is pi value, which is a variable name. It is not going to give me the value that is embedded. Now, in order to do this, what we need is we will utilize what is known as string interpolation, which is part of your template literals. We will see that how that we can embed an expression into the strings. We can do that using template literals. This is one problem that can be solved. Now, another problem. What will happen? Let's say let poem or a rhyme is equal to, I want to add this poem here. Okay. So, in order to add a poem which is of multiple lines, I want to use. And in the same way that I want to represent that in my variable called poem. If I hit enter, what will happen? It will say invalid or unexpected token. What is that unexpected token? It will end here and it is expecting a closing of double quotes here, but it is not available for it. So In how can we solve this problem? This problem can be solved using a backtick symbols that we saw. We can use that and solve this problem, because that will help us what, if you remember, for multi-line strings, this template literals using the backtick characters can be used to represent a multi-line string. Instead of double quotes, I'm going to use a backtick character, and I will end that with a backtick character. That's it. Now this is absolutely fine. And if I go ahead and recall the poem, then it is going to show me the entire poem, or whatever the values that it is currently holding, all the multi-line strings. Okay, this is one of the solutions, is to use a backtick character. Now, what else that template literals can be solving? It is also helpful to solve something called as string interpolation. So what is the string interpolation? String interpolation is nothing but it is a process of substituting the values of a variable or a expression into a placeholder. Like for example, we saw that just here, right? What I wanted to show here, there is a value or an expression that I wanted to put down here. For that, what I need to use is string interpolation. And what is the syntax for string interpolation? It should always start with a dollar sign, and within the curly brackets you specify the value, whatever you want to specify here. So let's revisit this again. Let's say let description is equal to, I'm going to take this entire thing. Okay, but instead of double quotes, I'm going to use the backtick characters, because that is what the template literals use. That is the reason it is also called as backtick syntax, template literals. Here, instead of the a pi value symbol, what I'm going to give, a dollar sign, curly bracket, and end the curly bracket here. That's it. So what this is going to show me now, if I hit enter and recall this value, the description is now showing the value of 3.142, which is substituted by this string interpolation. So this is what is that you're doing? You are just doing what, the substitution of a single value, but this can also be used for the expression as well. Let's take another example. Let's say let me clear this. Now I know pi value is already there. So, and area of a circle is what, it is pi into r into r, which is pi r square. This is the area of a circle. Okay, so in order to get the area of a circle, what I need to do, I need to have the value of r. R is nothing but the radius. Let's say let radius is equal to 12. Okay, I'm just defining a radius here. So let area, or I can say circle area or area circle, which is fine. Let me call it as circle area. Circle area is equal to, I'll use a backtick character, area of a circle with radius is, I'm going to give dollar sign, open and close, and inside this I'm going to give what, let's say pi value star radius Then again, I can give star radius, or star star 2 is also fine, which is exponential. Or I can give star star 2, which is also fine. What is that I'm doing? Pi multiplied by r square. Okay, that is one way I can give, or I can give, instead of this, I can multiply. All right, this is also fine. So what is this I am trying to do here? I am trying to give you an expression that will hold this value and compute that expression in this particular way, and it will compute that and return me a certain value which is as per the string. And if I go ahead and say circle, so what is it saying? Area of a circle with radius. I can also say something here with radius, this one. Okay, then it will give me, okay, area of a circle with radius 12 is this one, pi r square. Okay, are you guys able to see how this template literal you with a string interpolation is a way that you can use the individual variables or an expressions, or some kind of an expression which involves numbers, variables, strings, and all that you can utilize and give a output like this. Okay, it will generate a string ultimately. This, if you see type, type of this one, it is still a string. This entire thing is a string that is generated. This is again a very very powerful thing, string interpolation, in terms of JavaScript, that will help you to solve a lot of things. Okay, we'll see how and what, but one of the way is what you just saw in this example. Next, so again, a string has something called as concatenation. String can be indexed and slicing of the strings. We'll see what this individual means. So concatenation of strings. Let's say I'm going to go here. Let's say let string 1 is equal to skill. Okay, and let string 2 is equal to Zam. Okay, all right. Now there are two strings. All right, string one is holding this value, and string two is holding a value called Zam. Now I want to concatenate these two. What is this concatenation? Concatenation is nothing but a joining of two strings. Then how can we do that? We can do that using a plus operator or a addition operator. Let's see that. Let academy is equal to string 1 plus string 2. All right, or I can this is one way. Okay, I can go ahead and see academy, that will result into string 1 plus string 2. Okay, because I have used what is known as addition. So what we understand here, the concatenation of two numbers will result in addition, whereas concatenation of two strings will result, the addition of two strings will result in concatenation. And another thing, the addition of a string and a number will result in a string. Let's see that. Okay, now let's say let compute is equal to, or compute value is equal to, I'm creating another variable. Let's say compute value is equal to, let's say 99 plus runs. Yeah, now what is this I'm doing? I am trying to add a integer with a string. Again, JavaScript allows that. what it says is, whenever you concatenate a number with a string using a plus operator or addition operator, the resultant will be a concatenation of these two. The result will be 92 runs. Let's say I'll recall this and give you. So now this variable is containing a 99 runs. So now what you need to understand, one interesting thing here is the concatenation or addition of a number and a string will result in a string. So this value will be of the data type string. That is the reason you are seeing this in a single quotes, 99 runs.